Welcome to Half 2-4. Today in the show, David Beckham makes a controversial signing of Casemiro, prompting MLS to immediately launch an official investigation into Inter Miami. Meanwhile, Jeff Bezos prepares to buy a stake in Liverpool for nearly $2 billion, and Pep turns down Italy. We talk about all this and much more right now. MLS is aiming to become a top league in the world and directly compete with the Premier League and La Liga? No, this is not a hallucination, and I haven't lost my mind. MLS Commissioner Don Garber actually stated this dead seriously. According to him, as part of the massive MLS 3 project, American soccer will easily break into the top 6 strongest leagues on the planet in just about 10 years, with television revenues matching those of European giants. Sounds nice, packed with $1 million worth of hype, but let's come down to earth and look at the cold, hard, and painful facts. The total transfer value of all 864 footballers currently running around in MLS stands at 1.44 billion euros. Sure, the figure isn't bad on paper, but let's look further. The most expensive player in this entire league is the Brazilian Evander from Cincinnati, valued at 16 million euros. Meanwhile, the richest club in the league is Inter Miami, carrying a price tag of 91.7 million euros. Someone might spin fairy tales that money doesn't play football, but guess what? Bullshit. It is precisely Inter Miami, holding the most expensive squad, that became the reigning champions. A strange coincidence, wouldn't you say? Now let's move on to the teams Garber plans to compete with. Take Madrid Real from La Liga. The Merengues squad features just 30 players, yet the value of this roster stands at 1.43 billion euros. Just wrap your head around that. 30 players from Real are worth the exact same as all 864 players in the entire American League combined. Why, Kylian Mbappe alone is worth 200 million euros. That's like 2 Inter Miami teams put together, with enough spare change left over to buy an entire DC United. The Frenchman demonstrated his cosmic level at this World Cup, finishing as the top scorer of the tournament and the all-time leading marksman in World Cup history with 22 goals. Any more questions? Didn't think so. To speak candidly, the popularity of soccer in the USA is indeed growing rapidly, though why call it soccer instead of football like the rest of the world? But whatever, maybe in many, many years they will actually be able to offer something to rival Europe. However, the commissioner's statements about a top 6 league right now are just pretty hyped up words. What do you think? Write in the comments. While MLS fantasizes about standing toe-to-toe with European giants, David Beckham and Inter Miami continue to snap up star veterans. The Florida club has officially announced the signing of 34-year-old Brazilian defensive midfielder Casemiro on a free transfer following the expiration of his contract with Manchester United. The deal runs until the end of the 2027 season with an option to extend until June 2029. However, this transfer instantly got tangled in a behind-the-scenes scandal. MLS has opened an official investigation into Inter Miami over potential tampering, illegal negotiations behind a club's back. The issue is that priority discovery rights to sign the Brazilian belong to LA Galaxy. While the club seemingly agreed on compensation, the league is investigating whether Beckham contacted the player before actually buying out those very rights. The 5-time Champions League winner himself decided to drop a standard set of nice phrases in his first interview. What motivates me most, and I think this is true for every player, is to win and to keep growing. The project the club presented to me, along with the efforts everyone made to bring me here, mean a lot to me. Of course, it was definitely sporting growth at 34 years old that forced you to fly to Miami, and not the sunny beach, the company of Leo Messi, Rodrigo de Paul, and Luis Suarez, alongside a solid signing-on check. What do I think? David Beckham is building a very comfortable retirement home for legends in Florida. At 34 years old, Casemiro is still capable of cementing the midfield at the MLS level. But the investigation story perfectly demonstrates the approach of the Inter Miami bosses. If they need a star, the legal intricacies of the league take a back seat. they will pay a fine or hand over compensation to LA Galaxy. The main thing is that the Brazilian is already posing in a pink shirt. A potential record breaker in the world of club business is unfolding in the UK. Insiders from Sky News and Financial Times blew up the media space with news that one of the wealthiest people on the planet, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, with a fortune of $257 billion, might become a co-owner of Liverpool. A special consortium led by businessman Amit Bhatia has already made an official proposal to Bezos to become their primary financial partner. Bhatia even urgently sold his stake in QPR to clear the legal runway for this deal. Let's break down the figures involved, why the American owners of the Reds refused to sell the club outright, and what they plan to spend these billions on. According to sources, we are talking about purchasing a 30% minority stake in Liverpool. The current owners from Fenway Sports Group, led by John Henry, value the Merseyside club at no less than $6 billion. That means for the desired 30% package, the Bhatia and Bezos consortium will have to lay out approximately $1.8 billion. However, the FSG bosses immediately reassured the public and warned they will not hand over controlling stake to anyone, as they are strictly seeking a strategic investor. Bezos himself has not yet given final consent and is merely evaluating the numbers, but his potential entry into the European football market has already sent shockwaves through English football. Granted, for those Reds fans who were already dreaming of transfer spending sprees, FSG prepared a cold shower. The $1.8 billion will not go toward new players, but toward clearing club debts, infrastructure, and expanding the commercial network around Anfield. What do I think? John Henry made it crystal clear that he is giving up only 30% and keeping the wheel firmly in his own hands, with all the brought-in billions destined for patching debts and stadium concrete. But we all know how this works. It starts small, first 30%, then a bit more, and voila, Jeff Bezos is suddenly the majority owner of Liverpool. I can hardly believe I'm saying this out loud. Well, Elon Musk urgently needs to buy Manchester United now. Why not? He might like the Red Devil on the shirt, and he could simply rename the team to M. Pep virtually showed the Italians the door and closed in on turning down the Italy national team. The chances of seeing the Spanish genius at the helm of the Azzurri are heading straight towards zero, and we are about to reveal all the details of these high-profile behind-the-scenes talks. Following the conclusion of his grand 10-year era at Manchester City, Pep made a rock-solid promise to his family to take a sabbatical for at least a year to finally rest from the insane rhythm and pressure. But the Italians thought they could pull off a miracle anyway. Italian Olympic Committee President Giovanni Malagò, alongside Paolo Maldini and Leonardo, personally flew to Barcelona to meet with Guardiola. Maldini offered Pep not merely the head coach position, but the role of global architect of the country's entire football system up until 2030, complete with a full overhaul of academies and youth national teams after yet another disaster of missing the World Cup. Private sponsors were even brought on board to break all financial records, yet even such efforts proved futile. The financial gap between the Italians' offer and the demands of Guardiola's staff, who earned over 20 million euros a year at Manchester City, was simply cosmic. So while Pep prepares to take his rest, the main candidates for the Italy hot seat are Antonio Conte, Roberto Mancini, and Andrea Pirlo. As usual in Italy, the exact same coaches just go around in circles. What do I think? Hoping that Pep Guardiola, after 10 years of hell in the Premier League, would trade his family-promised rest to shovel through the ruins of Italian football was a very naive plan from Maldini and company. Guardiola is clearly in no mood to rebuild academies in Italy right now, especially when offered significantly less than he is accustomed to receiving in Manchester. So the Italians had better come down to earth and look for more realistic options rather than dreaming of a Spanish savior. After all, Slot and Ten Hag are out of work. Official. 22-year-old Argentine winger Alejandro Garnacho is packing his bags and moving to Birmingham, and the details of this deal turned out to be extremely interesting. The parties agreed on a one-year loan with a mandatory buyout. where the clause for a permanent transfer will become inevitable after fulfilling laughably simple conditions, purely stepping onto the pitch a few times in a Villa shirt. The total financial package of this special operation will cost the Birmingham side 40 to 42.5 million pounds sterling, while the player himself has already agreed to a 4-year contract running until 2031. So why did the clubs construct such a convoluted scheme? It all boils down to strict financial fair play rules. The loan format allowed Villa to smoothly defer the main financial burden to next year and avoid failing an audit. Unai Emery personally insisted on signing the Argentine, so the lad has already arrived in Birmingham and is posing in a Villa shirt. What do I think? While Chelsea fans think they got rid of a player smoothly, Unai Emery simply pulled off another tactical masterstroke. Villa secured a promising winger, bypassed financial nooses, and spread out the payments. And for Garnacho himself, this is practically his last chance to prove he can play football instead of just bouncing between giant clubs and bleaching his hair. Catalan Barcelona has officially wrapped up a high-profile transfer. 24-year-old German winger Karim Adeyemi passed his medical in Catalonia and shook hands with the Blaugrana bosses. The main catalyst for this deal was Hansi Flick, who knows Adeyemi's pace and pressing potential inside out from their time together with the Germany national team, prompting the manager to personally demand that the board close this reinforcement. For the guaranteed transfer, Barcelona will pay Dortmund 22 million euros, with another 7 to 9 million potentially going to the Germans in performance-based bonuses, while the Black and Yellows also negotiated a percentage of any future sell-on fee. Karim himself signed a solid 5-year contract until June 2031 with a base salary of 6 million euros net per year. What do I think? Flick continues to methodically collect runners capable of bringing relentless intensity, perfectly fitting his vertical football model. Securing a player of this caliber for 22 million euros guaranteed in today's crazy market is a true financial masterclass from Barcelona. And for Karim himself, a move to Camp Nou is perhaps the single best opportunity to finally convert his insane speed into regular silverware. Meanwhile, somewhere out there, there's a guy watching all this and weeping quietly in a corner,